Welcome everyone to the 2026 Bridgeport Little League Majors Division Gameplay Rules meeting. Even though it's not truly a meeting, it's just a video. We've decided to do it this year. This way, I think it works out better for everyone's timing. I'll be honest, I'm a little worried if anyone's going to watch it, so I may put a video in here, a question in here towards the end. That if you see me in person, if you wanted to answer it, maybe that would be near and dear to my heart because I know you suffered through this. I am going to try to go at a lightning speed, just because 98% of this stuff, guys, comes directly from the gameplay rules document that we already have built and that has been given to you. And it's like the same from last year. But we have new coaches, and that's no problem. So, like I said, just going to move forward. There are a few things in here, a few rules that I'm going to just ask you. Look, please go read it. I could unpack certain rules for hours. So there's a couple things that we're going to come to that has several pages of the book that I'm going to blaze through them and say, hey, please just go read this one, like 7:15 and 7:13. Go read these rules, and if you have any questions, call me. We'll unpack it as much as we can. Some of it's confusing to me. The reason we have this meeting, guys, Bridgeport Little League wants to try to take out as much gray area as possible. That's why we have the rules committee, which I am the chairman of, and it's me and John Kuhn, Jeremy Gum, Mark Harrison, Andy Eisner, like I said, myself. And we worked extremely hard on this last year to try to take out as much gray area as possible because the rule book itself is actually the gameplay rules. This is just a highlighted version of what usually comes up in conflict. So that's all we're doing is trying to bring the stuff that can lead to some controversy up to the front. Let's talk it out and give you an opinion and move on. Last year, Bridgeport Little League adopted a zero tolerance policy that worked out really well. I'm not going to read this word for word, but basically, Bridgeport Little League is ensuring that we have a fun, family environment for all participants. In order to do that, we have to make sure that everybody is willing to stay within the lines when the moments get heated, or these guys, the umpires are going to make bad calls, players are going to make mistakes. We can't control the fans too much, but there are procedures in here for managers and coaches and what's going to happen if they cross the line. Players, if they cross the line. I hope we don't have to do that, but I mean, there's a possibility. And then parents and spectators. I will say this: as a manager, you are the face of your team. Your coaches, your players, your spectators are going to follow the beat of your drum. If you act out and cause a scene, your coaches may very easily follow. Far too often, the players definitely will, and the parents as well. It's like a green light to your whole team to say, "Hey, this is when we can act a fool." I'm going to be honest with you. I've told the umpires to explicitly rid all that behavior. So, and look, I'm looking in the mirror this year more than anything. This year, I'm coaching a team. So, as the chairman of the rules committee and being on the board and having a team, I've already told my coaches and my players I hold our team to a higher standard than anyone. But also, you were handpicked to be a coach. With that being said, you have a giant responsibility to remember that the people in your dugout are watching you. The people in the stands that are wearing your colors are watching you. So if you say things that probably shouldn't be said and act a fool over all this, you're giving them the chance to do the same, and then we have a big problem. Look, the umpires are going to make mistakes, guys. Your players are going to make mistakes. As coaches, we're going to make mistakes. It's just Little League. They're 9, 10, 11, and 12 years old. Let's treat it that way. So with that being said, the next few slides are going to be procedures that we would run into if people cross those lines, including managers, coaches, players, and spectators. If you'll just take the time to read this, obviously this slide's for the managers and coaching staff. I will say this while we're here, because I'm unpacking the zero tolerance policy just a little bit. Like I said, I'm not reading it verbatim. There's consequences at the bottom. There's things at the top that's going to lead to those consequences. Just a little rule of thumb: the manager, the the head coach. If you're doing things the right way, you can have a conversation with the umpire, but that conversation shouldn't be from 30 foot away. Nobody should hear that conversation other than you and him. I don't need you running onto the field. That should be an automatic hook. I don't need you crossing the fair foul line when you're going out to talk to these guys. Laugh if you want, but that's a big no-no in this world. They'll come to you. Assistant coaches have zero leash. If anybody on the team other than the head coach has an issue, take it to the manager. Let the manager present that to the umpire, because straight up, there's not going to be any tolerance from anyone other than the manager. We will have a conversation with them, but that conversation is not going to be about balls and strikes, safes and outs. If you think, like just for an example, if I'm a manager and I think my guy coming to the plate's getting quick pitched, as I take balls down to the umpire in between innings, I might say, hey, Blue, you do me a favor and just take a glance at this guy working a little quick. I think he's quick pitching my guy. Appreciate it. Just bring it up. But we're not going down saying, hey, this zone's awful or that's definitely a strike. And we're not doing that in Little League, guys. So just understand, where the pecking order is. And I don't mean to say it that way, but at the same time, I don't need 4 coaches from each team and 10 players from each team talking to the umpire. You're not going to sit there and listen to 30 plus people. You have a representative at the plate meeting from both teams. That's the people that you're telling me I can communicate with, and that's who I'm going to communicate with. And if I don't think there's anything to talk about as an umpire, I'm going to tell you, okay, there's nothing to talk about here. Listen to them. All right. Sorry. That's how it goes. I'm not spending much time here at all. Just, players, what they can do that, leads to a problem for them. A lot of this is just sportsmanship stuff, guys, language and stuff that I don't expect to have an issue with. But do remember, they're gonna follow the path that you lead for them. Okay, so moving on. Parents and spectators. This is just procedures on what's going to happen. We're going to stop the game and cause a big scene if we have to. I have told the umpires also, guys. I know you guys think that I'm always in their corner, and most of the time I am. But I also want them to have some grace. Have some grace with you as a manager. Have some grace with the parents. Just try to keep everybody there and everybody playing. I don't want anybody to have to leave. If we understand, if we absolutely blow a call, then you got to be willing to take a little bit. But I mean, from the fans, I can't talk to them. But I don't want them taking anything from you. Now, if you want to come down and be like, hey, on that last one over here, I should have appealed it. I think I could have got it. Just giving them a mindset, whatever. Have that conversation with them in a manner that it's just you and them talking. You'll get a lot more out of it. What I hate to see is the guy from third base or the guy from the dugout or even first base chirping and chirping and chirping. I don't need it. They don't need it. We won't put up with it. All right. And the reason I say all that is that's usually what incites this slide. The parents, the spectators, they get riled up. They don't even know what's going on. They just see you, getting all animated out there and noise, and then they're like, "Yay!" and they don't even know half the time. Okay, so let's not lead to that, please. The do's and don'ts of social media. Not a bad idea to, if you have a group me or a team page, drop this on there. But now that we're getting, literally 2 days away from opening day, we can't make them do anything. But this is a cool suggestion that I pulled from Little League International last year. And feel free to read through this, but just specifically look at the don'ts. Don't be calling out specific players, coaches, or umpires, or the league, the district, anybody on any social media platform. Arguments. Don't post anything that we would think would be inappropriate or offensive. Don't share personal stats. Don't use photos or videos without the permission of people involved. I'm not saying completely stay away from the social media front. There's some positive things there you can do, but just be careful. And like I said, I'm going to put this on my group me. I think we did last year too. It's just a good little nugget to, make sure that little Timmy's mom's not on here saying, "Oh, little Timmy's batting, 700, but he's in the 8 hole because so and so's the coach's kid," or what. I don't know. Just an example of what could be. Just put this out. Okay, this is where I'm going to try to pick it up. I don't know how fast I can do this meeting, but I'm going to try to go lightning speed from here on out unless it deserves me to unpack it. Last year, this meeting lasted 2 hours. I'm really trying to see if we can keep it under that. So, all right, this is the 2026 significant rule changes. More than anything, I'm just going to give you guys an overview of the slides. You can read this stuff, like you can use Pine Tar this year. A lot of the stuff they said about the bad assistance that you couldn't use last year, some of that they greenlighted this year. Sleeves, all they did was remove the word neoprene. That was in there last year, so now you can wear a sleeve if you're a pitcher. But just keep in mind, can't be white or gray. Courtesy runner clarifies the placement of the runners, basically saying that you can use one for the pitcher and catcher with 2 outs and where they need to be as far as which out covers which base. Your last out is going to go to the first person on base. To me, it kind of made sense. Malfunctioning one-way communication device. This is just saying, hey, last year we made it legal to use. This year we're saying, hey, you're allowed to have a reasonable amount of time to correct if this thing is malfunctioning. I think we have teams using it, so let's remember that if they're having issues, they're allowed a reasonable amount of time to fix it. And this last one here, I had to dive into the rule book to kind of see what they did here. But when a player is injured, becomes ill, or must leave the site, basically when they are at the plate in the middle of a count, and for some reason they become injured or ill, and they can't finish that at bat, Little League's saying the player behind them is going to step in and finish that at bat in the middle of their count. So I'm pulling that directly from, you can see there, Rule 404. I think it's page 121. Dive into that. I feel like that would be rare. If you're injured, you probably got hit, and so you're taking your base, or if you're just sick, you're probably going to catch that before or after. But if it happens, there it is. And also, if someone on the base becomes injured, it also says there that we're going to backfill that with that's a last out. But just keep in mind of the injury policy. Moving on, forfeited games removes the requirement of the scorebook to be signed by the umpire in chief. Technically, I think I'm the umpire in chief for Bridgeport Little League because I'm the umpire coordinator. I'm also the umpire in chief for District 5, but I don't sign any of this jazz. Okay, we don't do that here. That's more for tournament play. Illegal bats, you got to use a USA bat, and we'll get to that. 715 procedures for the double first base. This is one of those rules. When we get there, I'm going to tell you need to go read it. Okay, you need to go to Rule 715. There's a couple pages. There's a ton of scenarios. You need to, if you are a manager or a coach, or you're going to say anything to the umpires about this rule, and I'll be honest, they need to read it. This is one of the rules I'm pushing onto them. We're using a double first base. But with that being said, one of the changes Little League made said, hey, on a drop third strike, the runner and the fielder can use either bag. So just remember that. It's because of the angle of the play and where it's coming from. The first baseman may have to take that on the outside or the inside of the baseline. And in order for that to happen, he's got to be able to use both bases. So the bottom one here is junior leagues. I think junior league in the older divisions. So move on. Super quick disclaimer, basically saying, hey, what you're about to go through is stuff that we pulled for us. Some of this has local options. Going to explain that really quick. Like I said, this is majors, and the rule book itself is our gameplay. We made this document to highlight anything that had become a controversy or a conflict, or that could be a gray area. But also, the rule book gives over 10 different scenarios where it's a local option, which the rules committee gets together, makes a decision. Once they make a decision, they move it forward to the board. The board will vote on that decision. And since the rules committee has started, we've had 4 votes on different things, and we've never received a nay. So before you get upset about anything that we've done, this thing has been through over 50 different types of votes, and it's never received a no. So just remember, and that's from multiple people. Going to pick up the pace here because we're getting straight into our gameplay rules document. If you have that document in front of you, or hopefully I've sent it to you, I know I have on the coaches chat. We're pulling straight from there now. Okay, starting with the first rule, each umpire has the authority to rule on anything that's not covered, in the rule book. Baseball, there's some weird things that can happen, especially in Little League. Here's what we're saying: if anything weird happens out there that we don't know what's going on, and we all look at each other like, what do we do here? The umpire gets to make a decision. Okay, he's going to make the decision that he feels best. All right, just cut and simple. A game will be 6 innings or 1 hour and 50 minutes from the first pitch. No new inning can start after the time limit has been reached. We put that in last year. Also, the home this next thing is a procedure that we always do that kind of works out. The home team will always occupy the third base dugout, and also when we say assigned to those cages, that means the cages beyond your third base dugout on field 4, the double cages down there. That's where we would like for you to go take BP pregame. The guests will occupy the first base dugout, and the single cage out between 1 and 4. That's where we would like for you to go take pregame BP. However, that last sentence here, very important. The batting cages are utilized on a first come first served basis, with no Little League division having priority over another. A couple years ago, we had majors teams kicking C-ball and A-ball teams out. That doesn't play. I don't know if there was a gentleman's agreement there before for majors to get it. In the past, most majors teams show up 45 minutes to an hour before their game and they hit. But we're not hitting on the field. We are hitting down the first baseline dugout and down the third baseline dugout. But you've got to be there in time to get the cage. If you want the cage, be there early enough. With that being said, don't get there 2 hours before and keep it the entire time. There's other people that need to use that. Me personally, I think the bridge needs triple the cages they have, but they don't have that. So let's just be good civil humans there and help each other out. Okay? Wow. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Here are your run rule limits. No big deal there. Team must have at least 8 players to play the game with a binding outcome. If it's going to count in the stats, or be kept for your overall record for seeding purposes, you have to have at least 8 players. All right. Basically, if you have 9, we're playing. No big deal, right? If you have 8, you are playing with 8. No games that go towards your record will be completed with someone else that was not on your original roster. Okay, that's the easiest way to put this. If you drop down to 7 players, which this year we have 11, I'm not sure it's going to happen that much. Last year we played over 60 games. This happened like 4 or 5 times and was still a really big deal. So it happened, very little, but with 11 players, I'm hoping it happens 0. If you do drop down to 7 players, you can borrow a couple guys to get up to 9, but you've already forfeited that game. So you're taking an L, but we just want to play baseball. Okay. We're just not going to count anything. We're not going to let you borrow another child from a different team and then win that game and be like, hey, I get the dub. Yeah, that doesn't even make sense. So we're not doing that. Okay, a team can score unlimited. Yeah, this is majors. You can score as much as you want. The pregame meeting starts the pregame plate meeting starts 5 minutes before the game. And please make sure we're sending the managers there. If you've got a manager running super late or something there's not there, yeah, send a representative. But if the manager is there, I want them going to the plate, because that's who's considered to be the representative of that team. The umpires don't know who the head coach is or who the manager is, so whoever comes to the plate, that's who they're going to work with. So with that being said, if you're the manager and you didn't go to the plate meeting, you sent an assistant, and then halfway through the game, you want to come up and have a conversation with him, and he tells you to take a hike, don't be coming to me. You didn't go to the plate meeting. He thought you was an assistant coach. And remember, the umpires are taught at every level. I'm talking to one person from that team. I'm not taking it from 5 of you guys. So just remember that. Hustling between innings. I need people running on, running off. The reason I am a Nazi about this is not because of getting the games over with. It's the quicker you make everything in and out between the innings, is the more baseball we can play. That's the difference of playing 5 innings and 6. There was games last year that we killed 20 minutes in between innings, by people just kind of farting around a little bit. Let's get a little hustle going. Like, the next thing, 3 minutes in between, that's just a number that's thrown out there from Little League or whatever. Just get on, get off the field, hustle in, hustle out. You don't need to be having team meetings every inning when you come in. Of let's sit here and talk for 3 minutes. Now let's take 3 minutes to get ready. Let's go out and work for 3 minutes. Next thing you know, you've killed 50 minutes in this game by talking to your team. That's what practice was for. That's what we've done for the past 3 weeks. Let's get them in. Let's get them out. All right. Um, Pitchers are going to get 6 or 7 pitches, but I'll be honest with you, if they get out there quick enough, they might get more. I don't know if they're going to be counting those. Um, the managers, this is a procedural thing that we do, very important here. Managers of the teams playing the early game are responsible for the scorebook or the scoreboard and pitch count upstairs in the press box. Sorry, I was getting confused because we don't technically do a scorebook. We just do the scoreboard. But so if you play the late game, you or somebody from your staff needs to be going to the early game. If you play the early game, you or someone from your staff needs to be going to the late game up in the press box. One member, I don't care who it is, it can be you, it can be an assistant coach. What it can't be is a player. It can't be a player because we need to make sure this is, especially the pitch count, that's an official record that we have to keep. So make sure that we're sending someone up there that we can count on. And I'm not, bad mouthing all the players. I'm sure Preston Algebright could do this, you know, without any flaw whatsoever. But Keegan, about 20 minutes in, he's over there checking to see what kind of snacks they got. So just make sure that you can have a schedule, you can do it yourself, whatever, but somebody from your team is taking care of the adjacent game that you're playing in. Each team is required to maintain a scorebook. We just do game changer. That's totally fine. Okay, and like I said, guys, please feel free to go back and read through this document. I'm just going to kind of hit it and go. Managers are permitted to sit outside the dugout. This is a weird rule to have in here as an umpire. I don't mind if we've got guys outside on the bucket. I'd rather it just be one coach. But I'll be honest with you, you're going to run into some umpires that won't say anything about 2 or 3 guys. You're going to run into some guys that are going to put every one of you in the dugout. And to be fair, when you get mad about that umpire, that is the rule. The rule is you're not supposed to be outside the dugout at all unless you are in the coach's box. So, you know, I know it's one of those things, but it is kind of weird when there's 5 or 6 of us on a bucket and a ball comes over and we're all having to get out of the way and the coaches and the kids having to look around the bucket. Shouldn't be there. So this is why we kind of put it in like, hey, one of you can be out there, but stay tight to the dugout. Don't be everywhere. I don't need 4 or 5 coaches out there standing up, talking to the kids while they're playing defense. Get one coach can be out really close to the dugout entrance on a bucket or even standing. That's fine. But I don't need 3 or 4 of you out standing, pointing, and all this jazz. It's too much. It's too much. The umpire decision on that is final, just like everything else. Next, if a player's injured, guys, remember that they cannot return to a game unless a medical professional at the game has cleared the player. There's a list on Little League Little League International on what's considered a medical professional. You would probably be surprised on what that is. I have 3 of those on my team. So just because this rule's in there, don't immediately be like, can't get them cleared. If it's something that you actually are concerned about, and let's all be cool here. You could get in the weeds on this if you wanted to, especially if you're the opposing coach. Hey, he got hurt, he can't come back in. Well, he just got hit by a pitch, like he shook it off for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or that half of inning. Like he's fine now. Let's be good humans here. But if you are genuine, if you're actually concerned about their health or something that happened, that let's err on the side of caution. Let's not put them in unless there's somebody in the stands that a doctor or whatever's on there that come and looks and be like, hey, I think they're okay. So let's treat that right. That's actually a part of the Little League safety awareness program. So let's be real cautious there. Managers have the right to make proper appeals. I'm not going into this. This is one of the things we could spend a long time talking about. I'll say this. If you're having a conversation with the umpire about appealing something, please know what you're doing, how to do it. I'm not, they're not going to bail you out because you don't know how to make the proper appeal. There's dead ball appeals, there's live ball appeals. If you go out and you botch it and then, they don't give it to you, don't call me. Because I'm anytime you guys call me, I'm going to pull the footage from Game Changer. I'm going to pull the footage from the bridge cameras, which has been awesome in the past because you can zoom in. It's pretty cool. But I try to watch these guys work. They're going to make mistakes. But like if you're going to be on to them about knowing everything, know your side of this. And as a coach, knowing how to make appeals, that's a big part of this deal. Don't be, running on the field, number one. Wait till the play's over before you try to come out and call time, and don't be screaming time when the play's still going on and then mad that he didn't give you time. Like, let's be smart about this. If you're going to make an appeal, do it the right way, but know what you're doing. Okay. And lastly, each team is permitted to take a 5-minute pregame in and out. I thought that was 6 minutes. Sorry, Kurt. I did tell you 6 minutes the other day. Guys, being honest with you, like, I'm fine with in and out. No big deal at all, before the game starts. Let's not make it a 15-minute in and out, But if you've got a routine there and you can make it, 4, 5, 6 minutes, I just don't want to make sure that we're delaying the game because so-and-so took a 15-minute in and out procedure. We've got a full practice going out there. So let's just be smart. At Bridgeport Little League, we use the continuous batting order. The next one there, infield fly rules in effect. Duh. But the reason why this stuff, if you want to know how we pick what we pick, guys, last year over 50 people was surveyed, if you will. People that were a part of the league in the past, people that are there now, coaches, umpires, assistants, spectators, people that have been on the board for 10 plus years. I mean, and I kind of just ask them, like, over the years, or with your experience, what has been the biggest thing that has stuck out as, something that brought up a controversy or a conflict, or the gray area that need cleaned up that would stop the game and be like, oh, what do we do here? And so anything people told me, I jotted down. And once I had a conversation with all these people, anything that was brought up by more than 8 people, I circled. We brought it to the rules committee, talked about it if needed, and then it found its way onto this document. So infield fly rule was a concern for more than 8 folks. But that just a cool little nugget there. Only the first batter on deck. There's no such thing as on deck in Little League. The only thing that you can do, if you are the first batter of that offensive half of the inning, you can be out warming up very close to your dugout while the pitcher's out throwing his warm-up pitches. But I don't need them down beside of the plate, getting their timing down with quotation marks while my pitcher's trying to get warmed up. I don't need that. Last thing I need is little Timmy getting ear holed down while he's supposed to be, technically in the dugout, and while your pitcher's warming up, throwing hard as he can for mom. Like, let's get him tight to the dugout. He can be out there getting loose, but that's the only time we have a quote unquote on deck batter. Batters can leave the box completely. The reason why this is here, this is one of those local rule things. The book actually says, and in tournament play, be careful, but the book actually says you have to keep 1 foot in the batter's box during that bat. And I'm pretty sure during tournament play, that's what you're supposed to play. But, at Bridgeport Little League, we said, hey, we don't want an umpire having to, sit there and watch his feet the entire time. The reason why it's there is to promote speed of play and pace so that, each kid doesn't step out and have a 25-second major league routine with the batting gloves and the art in the turf and the chains and whatnot. If you're going to give a sign, or if you're going to take a sign, step out, get a sign, get back in. Coaches, if you're going to give a sign, give it so that we can keep rolling, but not a problem with them stepping out. As long as it's, and we're not taking 30 seconds per pitch. Slash bunting. Not going to go into that rabbit hole. I'm going to blow your mind here. It's legal. You can do it. So when you make it to tournament play, don't be raising, Cain. If this happens, know what you're getting into. But you cannot do it at Bridgeport Little League during the regular season. We have decided that is a safety concern. We don't want say you got a 10-year-old stud kid that you're playing at third base. We don't want him crashing on a bunt on a 12-year-old that's able to pull that bat back and smack one still 60 miles an hour right at the face. I know it's baseball. They're going to get there sooner or later, but we don't want them subject to it during the regular season. So long story short, it's not illegal. It's a myth, but it is illegal for us at Bridgeport Little League. And also, like, just be prepared about the tournament situation, because that could change. Also, on this note, guys, just to remember, the stuff that we are going over here is for Bridgeport Little League specific at home. That's what that disclaimer at the beginning of this is about. If you travel to Fairmont, Salem, Taylor County, wherever, you are subject to their local gameplay rules. Okay, so um, as a manager, when you're traveling, you may want to know the difference of what's concrete in the book and what's specific to their rules. You know, if it matters that much to you, reach out, a week before. Hey, can you send me any local document you have or what have you? Or don't be there arguing like, hey, you know, you can't slash butt. Well, you can. You just can't at the bridge. Because that's our home facility. So just remember that. Okay, I'm gonna try to pick up the pace. I've said that a bunch, but I'm going slow. If a player throws a bat, look, if and this has to be considered extensive, not just an accidental. Like, I mean, if it's doing damage on my umpire, doing damage on my catcher, the first time we're going to warn him and the manager, okay, and then after the second time, if it happens, they just will not be able to bat the rest of that. So basically, you do it once, we're going to come tell you like, hey, you got a warning here. Try to hold on to the bat. Second time, all right. The next time you come up, we're just skipping your spot in the lineup. You get to finish that at bat. Now, with that being said, it's completely on the umpire's discretion to skip the warnings. If we feel it was, mischievous and very extensive and deliberate, spiking a bat after a fly ball and coming back and hitting my catcher, anything like that, boom, like, just remember, like, it's not your decision as the manager. If the umpire deems it as necessary, or unsportsmanlike, we can pull the trigger on this dismissal immediately. So I don't need you going, hey, whoa, it's a warning. Well, maybe it's not a warning. Well, while you was looking to see if they was going to catch the ball, he got pissed, chucked the bat, 200 miles an hour backwards. Maybe he didn't mean to hit anybody, but he just hit my guy in the neck. Yeah, well, he's done. He's done. So we're gonna handle that as we need to. If the ball becomes lodged under the mat during the play, the umpire should award all base runners one base. Look, if it's truly lodged, just have your catcher put your hand up. Everybody will get one base from where they were. But if you reach and get it, we're playing. But either way, we deem that's where it is. Hopefully, we can work with the bridge sooner or later to get that gap filled to where we can take that out. But as of right now, it does happen. So. Batters may advance in the event of a drop third strike. If a drop third strike happens, the batter runner doesn't abandon their right until they enter the dugout. I hear coaches say all the time, "Oh, you can't run now. You pulled yourself out." No, that's actually not true at all. The book, and even the high school book for what it's worth, considers it to be the dead ball area. So the dead ball area at the bridge on field 4 that we play, because of how everything is fenced in and netted, is not until you actually enter the dugout. So what that means is little Johnny can be on his way back to the third base dugout and not even hit the concrete yet and be like, oh crap, I forgot, I can run, and then take off running. Okay, you can say, oh, that's crazy. Well, guys, we didn't write the rules. And that is the rule. That's a rule in high school too, by the way. Now in softball, it used to be a little different. I think they even changed it in softball to where now you don't give up your right to run until you enter the dugout. You enter the dead ball area. So basically, think of it as this: if it's an area that you can catch a foul ball, it's an area that you can stop and plant and run to first base. Okay, so treat it that way. In the event of a hit by pitch, technically you're supposed to make an attempt to get out of the way of a hit pitch. Just don't lean into one. If an umpire tells a kid to stay in the box because of he got hit and he didn't take it the right way, that's going to be a rough day. But I have seen kids try to lean into one. There's a difference there. You got a kid that's struggling, another kid on the mound throwing 20 miles an hour, and he leans into that. Yeah, we might not give that to him. So just know the rules. Really quick, pitching managers must abide by all the guidelines and rules that come with managing pitching in bullpens. Maximum pitch innings, days rest, all that stuff. Maximum pitches. Under no circumstance can a pitcher pitch on 3 consecutive days. That is in play this year for us. A lot of us are playing 3 days in a row. Remember, you cannot, the pitcher cannot take the mound 3 days in a row, which is why it's extremely important for your, the game changer guy. That is our official rule book. Rule book, scorebook, but also why we keep pitch counts upstairs. If so and so we go and play them and we're like, hey man, I'm pretty sure he's throwing 20 pitches every day, and then we get somebody to check. It's not a matter of like, competition as much as like we want to protect that kid's arm. So just remember that you can't go 3 days in a row. Once you're removed as a pitcher, you can't return as a pitcher. Coaches are responsible for keeping and maintaining accurate pitch counts. We'll have them upstairs, but make sure your game changer guy's on it too, just so you don't make the mistake of like, hey, we subbed Keegan out with Johnny, but I forgot to change Keegan and Johnny, in the book, and then 2 days later your mind's in a million places because we all have lives, and you put Johnny back out there because you didn't realize that he pitched, blah blah, things like that. This one, big deal for me. Managers or staff are allowed to warm up pitchers in the bullpen and in between innings. If a player does it, he has to have full gear on. Okay. If a catcher goes out to warm up the pitcher and it's not your catcher that's coming in, I need full gear. If the coach does, that's up to you. That's on you. But do not have your pitcher out there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting in between innings for a catcher to get ready because he was on the field and we didn't courtesy run. When you've got everybody has 4 or 5 coaches, grab a mitt, get to the plate, take some ball. That way, when the catcher gets in, we can bring it down and roll. Okay. And I don't need the comments about, oh, Dustin's a Nazi about this stuff in between innings. Are we here to play baseball? Or are we here to goof off in between? Because I promise you, on average, we waste close to 20 minutes a game in between innings that we could have got an extra inning in. Okay. Super quick here, just your days rest and maximum pitch counts. Screenshot this, whatever. Uh, Very useful for all the managers out there to make sure that we're following these guidelines. Catcher to pitcher rule. Please look at this and be familiar with this. Even if you coached last year, newsflash, we had a segment in there that was not part of the rules that we kind of just dreamed up, and it was down here at the bottom where it says the catcher can catch 3 innings. That's perfectly true, but we also had a weird clause in there about 40 pitches or something. This is right. So become familiar with this. So make sure you understand what's going on here with the catcher to pitcher limitations, and finish the batter scenario, which I think we're getting ready to get to. Some stuff's in here twice. We know that. I know he's no longer on the board, but Brian Gothrop helped us build this. Phenomenal job, and he's done so much for the rules committee on helping us, not to just give us information, but also helping us build these documents and stuff. And it was a really good idea to put it on if you're actually looking at the document, stuff may be in multiple places because it fits that category. And the more that you read it, the better you're going to understand it. So some of the stuff's in here twice. Skipping down to, under no circumstance should there be a balk. There is no such thing as a balk. Okay. There is an illegal pitch. Go to the rule, understand the difference of what an illegal pitch is, but there is no such thing as a balk. Okay. Coaches are permitted 1 mound visit per pitcher, per inning. So per inning, you have a mound visit. Here's the finish the batter regulation. This is just going to let you know that, hey, that pitcher, his pitch count is going to be circled at the first pitch of whatever batter he finished last. And the finish the batter is basically anything that retires the batter. Batter reaches base, third out, pitcher is removed, what have you. But you have the right for this finish the batter regulation. This also applies to catching thresholds as well. So this is something you might want to be familiar with. Defense, catchers, it's cool you can just wear a mask if you're catching in and out pregame warm up. That's totally fine. Just don't get that confused with if we have a catcher catching a pitcher at all. that needs to be full of gear, whether it's in the bullpen or it's on the field. That needs to be full gear. But the in and out pregame warm up, if you've got a guy out there with a glove, he does have to have a mask on. Okay, I'm sorry, this is just by the book. Moving on to base running, leadoffs are not permitted. This is Little League. Batters may advance in the event of a drop third strike. We do play drop third strike. Understand what that is. Head first sliding is not permitted unless you're coming back into a bag. So if you have obtained that base or already touched that base or reached to that base, you can then come back to that base head first if needed. But advancing to a base that you have never occupied, you have to go feet first if you're going to slide. And keep in mind, guys, some of these kids don't have the cleanest slides. Some of it is like a ungraceful fall. If the umpire deems that it was head first for safety reasons and he calls them out, look, that's his discretion, and his discretion is final. Some of this stuff's hard to decide. I've seen slides myself on some of my team that I don't know what I would do. I've even told them, like, hey, you need to really emphasize that you're going with your feet because it's kind of like you're rolling. I don't know what this is. So what his decision is final on this. Speaking of sliding, moving to the next one, we don't have a must slide rule for a runner going into any base, home or whatever. There's a common myth that, hey, anytime you're going home, you have to slide. No. Or anytime you're going into second base on a double play, you have to slide. No. But what there is a rule about is you have to avoid making physical contact, or at least attempt to avoid the collision with the runner. So if there's going to be a play, and I think you not sliding and you making contact interfered with the play whatsoever, then yes, you are automatically out. Now, that's at the plate or anywhere. But keep in mind, for the forced double play slide rule at second, if you are sliding if you do not slide into second base on a double play ball, and I think you interfered with the runner any whatsoever, I'm banging you out and the batter runner at first base. So while it's technically not a must slide, it is you probably should slide because you're going to cost your team, just moving forward. But just wanted to clear that up as far as you hear that all the time at the plate. Hey, they got to slide. They got to slide. If I felt that he needed to slide to avoid this contact, I would have called him out already. And that may happen. If there's a collision there, boom, yeah, you're done. You're out. And if it's malicious, you might be out of the game. Let's see how far it goes. This is playing into what I just said about the double play slide rule. Like, you don't have to slide on a forced play in a second, but if the umpire thinks that first of all, if you was intentional, then obvious. But the umpire is going to decide, did you interfere? Even if you peel out of the way, if you peel the wrong way and that guy that's turning two, he has to change his steps because of the way you went or whatever. Any of that, boom, both of the guys are out. So as a coach, the safest thing to do there is to tell your guy to slide into the back. Okay. You don't have to. It's not a force, but it is the safest thing to do. If there's going to be a play and you're not out by a mile, slide into the back. That's just good rule of thumb. Courtesy runners, we can run for the pitcher and catcher when there's two outs. Okay, remember, it's the last out, and then it's just in that order. The first guy to get on base is going to get the last out, and the next guy to get on base, if your pitcher and catcher happen to be on base together, then he's getting out after that. It's pretty simple. This is one of the rules I was talking about in the beginning. I'm not going to sit here and unpack because I could spend the next hour and a half, honestly, and I'm not sure it's even worth trying to highlight because of how much time it's going to take there. Just do me a favor. Read this. Get in the rule book. Read 713. I think it's a couple pages. Probably somewhere around 150 if I'm guessing. Read this. Okay? If you're going to try to utilize this as a coach, read this. This is exactly what I'm telling my umpires. Hey, read this. So please, read this. I say that so many times because we end up having so many conversations with coaches that are like, well, I thought this. Well, did you read it? Did you read it before this conversation? Before you went and spoke with the umpire, did you know what you were talking about? Okay. Because too often we hear, well, the umpire's supposed to know the rules. I'm sure they won't know every one of them, but do you know every rule? Okay. So let's make sure to read it. And here we are back to back with another rule that I'm going to say, hey, go read it. Double first base rule. We are using it for safety. The inside bag, the colored bag, is the bag that we are, using for our runners. And there's procedures on whether you're just trying to get through first base or you're rounding first base or you hit a double. Keep in mind, one of the changes of this year on a drop third strike, we can use either of those bags for anything. It's just one big giant bag, all right, for that procedure. But for everything else, there's certain situations, like if the runner hits the wrong bag and it's seen. Keep in mind though, guys, I have two umpires on the field. Um, Two umpires in the game of baseball, it's extremely hard to see everything. So I don't need you livid if the runner's safe by 5 feet and he's safe, but you seen that he grabbed the inside part of the bag. Okay, or I'm sorry, the wrong bag would have been the bag for the fielder. If the umpire sees that, yeah, he's out. But if he misses it, please don't go berserk. I mean, you can ask him, like, hey, can you please keep an eye on that? But I don't need you guys lighting these guys up when there's two of us trying to see so many things. Okay. The NCAA rules committee that we go to every year has statistics on a two-man umpire system is going to miss probably close to 20% of what they're technically supposed to be looking at. Three-man drops down to, like, I think it's 9%. Even four-man, when there's four guys out there, drops down to 3, which is why the MLB went to a six-man umpire, and they're using robots and whatnot. So just have a little grace. I'm asking them to have some grace with you guys. I'm asking you guys to have some grace with them. Just read 715, the previous slide, and read this rule. Understand it. Teach it to your team. Hopefully you've been teaching it before, but quickly, the base runner, the base path is 3 foot wide of where the previous action occurred. It's not a straight line. Just understand what the baseline is. If you're going to say, hey, he's out of the baseline, well, do you know it's a straight line from the runner of the action of the attempt of where he was or she. No metal spikes. All of our bats must be USA logos. Products. That probably should have been took out. Products such as, but not limited to, choke knives, if those are considered to be altered are not permitted. Disregard that. I'm sorry, I've missed that when I went over. Disregard this rule here completely. There's certain things that are allowed and are not, and that is addressed back at the beginning of the changes. So my apologies there. Okay. Going to take a small break here, a quick pause. If you've made it this far, it looks like we're 47 minutes in. If you actually are still watching this video or listening to this video, first of all, I love you. But just so I know that somebody made it this far, I'm going to ask the question. I pitched in my life, pitching is near and dear to my heart. Who is the one major league guy who played 27 seasons, Hall of Famer? Holds the all-time strikeout record, and even I'm pretty sure holds the all-time record for the most no-hitters at like 7, but never won a Cy Young. Who is that player? All-time strikeout leader, all-time no-hitter leader, but never was given a Cy Young award. If you can find me in person or even text me and tell me who the answer to that is, I love you dearly. All right, moving on. Neoprene sleeves. Remember, that word got took out. It's just sleeves. Sleeves can be worn, provided the neoprene sleeve is a solid color, not white or gray. It doesn't have to be neoprene. They took that out. As of 2025, you can wear jewelry now, but the umpire does have a right to ask you to remove it. Like if you're a pitcher and you're up there and you've got 5 chains on, they're hanging out of your uniform, or they're moving, going all over the place when you're pitching. If he thinks it's distracting for the batter, he can't ask you to remove those. He can. Pitchers may wear items on the glove, hand, wrist, non-pitching arm, of a single color, provided that it's not the same color as a ball or distracting. We're not back to the era to where you have to have completely naked arms. You can have stuff as long as it's still within the lines of the not being gray or white. Oh, this one's really quick. Managers, you're responsible for checking everyone's equipment. Okay, we use USA, not USSS. You're responsible for checking everyone's helmet, the catching equipment, all of the bats, making sure that what we're using in a game is what we need in Little League. Teams are permitted to use the one-way communication devices. I think we have a couple teams using it, or one for sure. That's totally fine. And in order to use a helmet attachment in Little League, the C flap, the helmet manufacturer must have a provided indication of the. So basically, it's got to have that NOSHA or the NOC SAE certification on the C flap and the helmet together, that they're paired together. So is usually, here's a good thing for managers: if the brand of C flap matches the brand helmet, that's almost always, from what the research I've done, going to work out just fine. It gets messy when you have a Rawlings helmet with a Evo Shield C flap or something. They're both certified independently, but when they're paired together, they're not. It's a money move to make sure you buy the same stuff, but technically, just do some due diligence there on your C flap, but make sure we have them. All right, guys, some procedural things for us that we may run into. Good to know, really good to know here for your management team. Um, if the game is tied, after 6 innings of play, and we still have plenty of time in our hour and 50 time minute, I'm sorry, hour and 50-minute time slot, then we will go into a tiebreaker. The tiebreaker innings will go into effect starting at the 7th inning. Okay, immediately after the 6 innings of play. This is new. Last year, I think I was a part of a 9-inning game, which was cool, but it was a lot, and I think we burned like 3 pitchers. But anyway, after the full 6 innings of play, if there's time left, in the 7th inning, you will send the person that batted last as a runner to second base. Okay. That's going to promote some scoring opportunities. In the event that the game is still tied when the time limit has ended, then that game's going to end in a tie in the regular season. Just it'll go down as a tie. Once we make it to tournament play, obviously we'll play that out. But for the event of the regular season, it will end in a tie if you make it an hour and 50 minutes. But like I said, we played 9 innings last year in an hour and 50 minutes. So that was pretty cool. In the event of weather before the start of a game, basically, I'm not going to go into all this. This says, the umpire in chief. Look, I'm going to just paraphrase this. Coaches, get with the majors commissioner. Majors commissioner, coordinate with the umpire, coordinate with myself if they're there. If all of us are there, let's talk. If we're there and something's going on, that's weather-wise, and we're whatever, let's get together and let's talk. The fields are turf, so we're just kind of paying attention to the outfield there. Lightning, we got to be, obviously there's no conversation there. But the two managers, the majors commissioner, which is Aaron Horn, and the umpires that are there, if they're there, get together and talk. If Aaron's not there and he's not available by phone, the other three get together. Umpire, the coaches, and if it's just the coaches get together. But I need that major commissioner involved in on these decisions. Okay. If whatever's going on, if we're under lightning delay, or rain delay, whatever's going on, and then going to the next bullet point here. If the first pitch of the game has been delayed by 1 hour or more, the game will automatically be postponed or rescheduled for a later date, if possible. If you are, we're supposed to start at 5:15, and you got hit with lightning at 5:05, that the horns sound, and now you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and as soon as we reach 6:15 and we have not thrown the first official pitch, that game is officially scratched, whacked, whatever you want to call it. We'll try to get it rescheduled, but we're not going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. That's a rule that we put in this year, okay? And we put that through the rules committee, and then we put that through the board, okay? So that's been through, 2 different waves of voting, and a voting of 5 and then a voting of 16 for that situation. So but that rule only, a note there, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to glaze over that, but that rule only applies when there's a doubleheader, because we've got a game coming in at 7:15. If you are the solo game that evening, that's back to that conversation, you and the coach, the majors commissioner, and the umpires getting together and just making a good conscious decision. Just some notes here on anything impacted from weather. After 4 complete innings, that game is going to be considered official, and the team with the lead obviously wins. In the event of a tie or you know postponement, that game will be suspended and resumed on a different day. Resumed, right? Suspended at that moment, resumed after 1 inning, but before 4 innings, the game is suspended and resumed on a different day despite the score. Before 1 complete inning, the game will be restarted. So you kind of see where we're at. After 4 innings, it's going to count. It's a done deal. After 1 inning, but before 4, the game is suspended. And then it's going to be resumed on a different day. And then before 1 inning completed, the game's going to be completely restarted some other time. And then postseason play, this rule does not apply. The game will be resumed at the point of the postponement and completed on a different day. So in postseason play, our little tournament we have, we're picking up where we left off if this happens. Also, a new rule that we kind of put in this year is, hey, now, and this next part is in the event of those double headers, which we have a ton of, guys. It's actually most of when there's 2 games that day. In the event of a weather delay occurs after a game has started, the game clock will continue to run during the delay. Managers and commissioners are expected to use sound judgment and act in the best interest of the players in the league while observing the 1 hour and 50-minute time limit. This rule only applies on the days where multiple games are scheduled on the given field. So if while you're in weather delay and there's a game before you or after you, whatever, that time clock's running. If you have a day when you're up there and you have field 40 yourself, and say you were supposed to play at 6, and you're going, playing, you're dealing with weather, you don't have to run it then. This is just to protect that we don't suspend, we don't screw up 4 teams' games in the event of weather. That's why we put this in play. And like I said, remember, all this stuff goes through double votes of rules committee and the board. And then also, this is new here as well. The division commissioners must be involved in any game cancellations, and they must provide final approval before any game is canceled confirmed. This is put in mainly outside of weather. Okay, almost zero circumstance is going to allow you to cancel a game as a coach or as a manager. We've had it happen in the past, which is why this rule came into play. You as a manager cannot cancel your own game outside of a weather function. All right? Or weather delay. If you have a game coming up that you don't want to go play or whatever, they don't want to have play or whatever, you need to bring that to the commissioner. You don't get to cancel that on your own. Only weather can you be a part of. So I'm drilling that in because look, I don't make the schedule. But I know the people that do, and I know the time and the effort and 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 the problems that comes with making the schedule and how they try to make sure it's perfect for everyone. And then it's kind of a slap in their face when we have guys being like, I don't want to play here, I don't want to go there, or I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, so I cancel these games. Yeah, that's not going to fly. So you can't cancel these on your own anymore, okay? Get with the commissioner. And just a quote that I'm leaving in here because look, I believe in you guys. I'm holding myself to the same standard that I'm preaching to you guys about. Very thankful. I've been working with other districts. I'm sorry, other leagues inside of our district with rules this year, and that has led me to see just how great we have it at Bridgeport. Some of the struggles other people will deal with, we just don't have to deal with, and it's because of people like yourself, people volunteering to step up for our youth. And so, I've always loved this quote: "A coach will impact more young people in a year than an average person does in an entire lifetime." So for me and everybody at the league, thank you for giving your time to these kids. And at last, questions. I know we can't answer these live this year. I'm going to drop my email and everybody should have my number. Call me any point of this. If you're mad, happy, upset, confused, lonely, I don't care. Call me. Call me and we'll talk about anything you got to talk about. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but if I don't, I'll go find them for you. I won't stop until we come up with an answer. Maybe we missed on something. Maybe we whiffed. We realized last year that we done a pretty good job, but there's a couple things that we needed to clean up. So with that being said, reach out to me. Thank you again for if you made it this far. Oh my gosh, I said I would keep it under an hour, and as I watch the clock click down to 60 minutes, I'm going to end it right here because I did exactly what I was going to say. Thank you. Have a good season, guys.